Pregnant and alone, Elara was left to die in the frozen wild. No shelter. No food. Her group abandoned her when she needed them most. She thought no one would come. But then, through the trees, a Lakota warrior appeared, silent, watchful, and unlike anyone she'd ever met. She thought she'd reached the end. But her story was only beginning. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from and subscribe if you believe that fate always finds a way. Elara struggled through the dense forest. Snow covered the ground, making each step heavy. Her breath came out in short bursts, forming small clouds of mist. Her body was tired, her legs shaky from days of walking. She felt the bite of the cold wind on her skin. Her clothes were thin, offering little warmth. The winter air seeped into her bones, making her shiver. She placed a hand on her swollen belly, feeling the small movements inside. Her child was her only focus now. She whispered soft promises, hoping to give comfort. Her group had left her behind. They said she slowed them down, that she was a risk. Her heart ached with their betrayal. She was alone now, with only the trees and the snow around her. Her mind replayed the moment they had decided to leave her. Pleas had fallen on deaf ears. She remembered their backs turning, the sound of footsteps fading away. Her eyes had filled with tears, but she had no choice. She had to move forward, find shelter, find safety. The forest was silent except for the crunch of snow under her boots. She looked around, searching for any sign of life. There was nothing. No animals, no voices, just the whisper of the wind through the branches. The weight of loneliness pressed down on her. Hunger clawed at her stomach. She had eaten little in the past days. Her body felt weaker with each passing hour. She stumbled over a root hidden by snow and nearly fell. Her hands reached out to steady herself against a tree. She paused, gathering what little strength she had left. The sky was a dull gray, the sun hidden behind clouds. Shadows stretched long and thin across the ground. Her vision blurred, exhaustion tugging at her eyelids. She knew she needed to find shelter soon. The cold would only grow stronger as night approached. She continued on, driven by the need to protect her unborn child. Her feet dragged, but she forced them to move. The forest felt endless, each tree a mirror of the last. She felt lost in a world of white and gray. As she walked, she caught sight of a fallen tree ahead. It lay across the snow, offering a slight break in the monotonous landscape. She stumbled toward it, her body crying out for rest. She reached the tree and sank to her knees, her hands pressing into the snow. Her breath came in ragged gasps. The world around her spun, the edges of her vision darkening. She tried to stay awake, but her body was too tired. Her eyes closed and she felt herself slipping into unconsciousness. Before the darkness claimed her, she saw a shadow moving through the trees. It was a shape, a figure, but she could not make out any details. It moved silently, like a ghost in the snow. Her mind was too foggy to understand, too weak to question. Then she knew no more. The forest stood still, the only sound the gentle fall of snow. Elara lay beside the fallen tree, her figure small against the vastness of the land. The shadow moved closer, its steps careful and deliberate. The world was quiet, holding its breath. Elara did not wake when the figure reached her. She lay in a deep sleep, her body finally at rest. The figure knelt beside her, watching her for a moment. Then, with careful hands, it lifted her from the snow. The figure's movements were gentle, mindful of her condition. The shadow carried her away, leaving only footprints in the snow. The forest watched, silent and still, as they disappeared into the trees. The snow continued to fall, covering the tracks, erasing the path they had taken. The day passed into night, and the forest remained quiet. The sky cleared, revealing a blanket of stars above. The world was vast and cold, but in the heart of the trees, a small light flickered. It was a beacon of warmth in the frozen wilderness. Elara slept, unaware of the journey she had begun. Her dreams were filled with the sound of the wind, the touch of the snow, and the faint promise of safety. The shadow kept watch, ensuring she was safe. The night wore on, the cold pressing against the world, but inside the light, there was warmth. The forest knew many stories, had seen many lives pass through its embrace. It held secrets in its depths, shadows in its heart. But for now, it was content to watch over the small bundle of life carried by the shadow, away from the cold and into the light. Elara woke slowly. The air around her was warm, filled with the scent of smoke and herbs. Her body felt heavy, but the ache from the cold had faded. She blinked, trying to clear the fog from her mind. The room was dimly lit, shadows dancing on the walls from a small fire. As she gathered her senses, she noticed she was in a tent. The fabric walls moved slightly with the breeze outside. A thick blanket covered her, providing warmth. Her heart steadied as she realized she was no longer in the snow. She turned her head and saw a man sitting near the entrance. He was quiet, his posture relaxed but alert. His eyes watched her, calm and steady. He wore clothes made from animal hides, worn but well-crafted. His presence was strong, yet not threatening. Elara's throat was dry and she tried to speak, but no words came out. The man noticed and reached for a small cup beside him. He stood, walked over, and offered it to her. She hesitated, unsure, but her need was greater than her caution. She accepted the cup with a nod. The liquid was warm and soothing. It tasted of herbs, earthy and slightly bitter. It eased the dryness in her throat and brought comfort to her belly. She drank slowly, grateful for the relief. The man returned to his seat, watching her with quiet eyes. He said nothing, but his presence was reassuring. She wondered who he was and why he had helped her. Her mind was full of questions, but she lacked the strength to ask. Time passed slowly in the tent. The fire crackled softly, filling the space with gentle warmth. Elara lay back, her body still tired but her mind more alert. She watched the man, noting the way he moved with purpose, every action deliberate. He stood again, this time bringing a bowl of broth. The steam rose in delicate curls, carrying the scent of meat and herbs. He handed it to her, and she took it with a grateful smile. The broth was rich and flavorful, filling her with warmth. As she ate, her thoughts slowly came together. She remembered the forest, the snow, the shadow moving toward her. She realized this man must have been the one to find her. He had saved her from the cold, from the darkness. Her eyes met his, and she nodded, trying to convey her gratitude without words. He gave a small nod in return, a silent acknowledgement. There was no need for more. The silence between them was not empty. It was enough. Elara rested again, letting the warmth of the fire and the food fill her. Her body felt stronger, her mind clearer. She knew she needed to regain her strength to be ready for whatever came next. Her child depended on her. The man moved around the tent, checking supplies, tending the fire. Each movement was measured and sure. He seemed to know this land, this life. He was a part of it, just like the trees and the snow outside. She watched him, trying to understand why he had chosen to help her. She was a stranger, alone and vulnerable. Yet he had taken her in, cared for her without question. There was a kindness in his actions, a quiet strength she admired. As the day turned to night, the tent grew cozier. The fire cast a warm glow, softening the shadows. Elara lay back, her body wrapped in the blanket, her mind slowly drifting towards sleep. The man sat near the entrance, keeping watch. She felt safe for the first time in days. The fear and loneliness that had gripped her began to fade. She closed her eyes, letting the quiet envelop her. Her last thoughts were of gratitude, of hope. The night passed peacefully. The forest outside was still, the wind gentle. Elara slept deeply, her body finally finding rest. The man remained by the entrance, his presence a silent guardian. When morning came, the light filtered through the fabric of the tent. Elara stirred, feeling refreshed. She sat up slowly, her body responding with new strength. The man was already awake, preparing a simple meal. He handed her another cup of warm broth. She accepted it with a smile, grateful for his continued care. She felt a connection forming, a bond of trust. The fear of the unknown was replaced by a sense of belonging. She knew there would be challenges ahead. The wilderness was vast and unforgiving. But for now she was not alone. She had found a place of safety, a moment of peace. She was ready to face whatever came next. The world outside the tent was waiting, full of unknown paths. But inside, there was warmth, there was hope. Elara was no longer just surviving. She was living, moving forward, step by step. The forest, with all its dangers, was no longer her enemy. It was part of her story, a story that was just beginning. Elara and the man, whose name she learned was Chaitin, settled into a routine. Each day brought a little more strength to her limbs and a little more ease to her mind. The forest outside was vast and quiet, but inside the tent there was a growing sense of safety. Chaitin was a man of few words, but he showed her the ways of the forest. He pointed out plants she could eat and ones she should avoid. He taught her how to spot animal tracks and set simple traps. His movements were smooth and practiced, each task done with care and precision. Elara watched and learned, grateful for his guidance. She was not used to this life, but she was determined to adapt. Her survival depended on it. Her child's future depended on it. She practiced what he taught, her hands clumsy at first but growing more confident with each try. In return, she found small ways to contribute. She mended clothing with careful stitches, her fingers nimble and quick. She kept the fire burning, adding wood as needed, ensuring warmth through the cold nights. Small tasks, but they gave her a sense of purpose. Their communication was simple, a mix of gestures and few words. Yet through this, they began to understand each other. There was an unspoken bond forming, built on shared survival and mutual respect. Each day, they learned a little more about each other's pasts. One evening, as they sat by the fire, Elara shared her story. Her voice was soft, her words careful. She spoke of the group that had left her, of the fear and loneliness that followed. Chayton listened, his eyes steady on hers. He nodded, understanding in his silence. In turn, Chayton opened up about his own loss. He had once had a family, a home. They were taken from him in a raid by a rival tribe. The attack had left him alone, wandering the forest with only his memories for company. His voice was quiet, the pain clear in his eyes. Elara listened, her heart heavy with empathy. She knew the weight of loss, the emptiness it left behind. Their stories were different, but the grief was the same. It bound them together in a way words could not. As the days passed, their routine continued. They moved through the forest, gathering food, preparing for the changing weather. The snow was less frequent now, the air a little warmer. Signs of spring were appearing, small but hopeful. One afternoon, Chayton showed her how to set a snare for rabbits. He demonstrated the process slowly, his hands moving with practiced ease. Elara followed his lead, her fingers mimicking his movements. She set the trap, feeling a small spark of pride at her accomplishment. Chayton nodded in approval, a slight smile on his lips. It was a rare expression, but it warmed her heart. She felt a growing strength within herself, fueled by his quiet encouragement. She was learning, adapting to this life in the wild. They found moments of lightness amidst the hard work. Chayton carved small wooden animals in the evenings, his knife shaping the wood with skill. He handed one to Elara, a small deer, its form smooth and simple. She traced the lines with her fingers, touched by the gesture. The bond between them deepened, rooted in shared experiences and quiet understanding. Elara began to see Chayton not just as her savior, but as a friend. She admired his resilience, his calm presence. He was a constant, a steady force in the midst of uncertainty. Yet, amid the growing warmth, an unspoken question lingered. What would happen once they reached safety? Once they found a place to settle? The thought hovered at the edge of their days, a shadow in the light. But for now, they focused on the present, on the tasks at hand. The forest was no longer just a place of danger. It was a teacher revealing its secrets slowly. Elara felt more at home with each passing day, her confidence growing with every lesson learned. She was no longer just a survivor. She was part of the wild, part of its rhythm. Their journey continued, the path ahead uncertain but shared. The bond between them was strong, a quiet promise of support and friendship. Elara knew there would be challenges ahead, but she was ready to face them. The world outside the tent was still vast and unknown. But inside, there was warmth, there was trust. Elara and Chayton were no longer strangers. They were companions, bound by the wilderness and the stories that brought them together. The future was theirs to shape, one step at a time. Elara and Chayton continued their journey through the forest. The days grew longer, the sun setting later. As spring approached, the forest changed. Snow melted, leaving patches of muddy earth. Small flowers began to peek through the ground, adding color to the landscape. Despite the signs of new life, the wilderness held its dangers. One night, as they sat by the fire, they heard the distant howl of wolves. The sound was eerie, echoing through the trees. Elara felt a shiver run down her spine. She looked at Chayton and he nodded, understanding her concern. Chayton stood, moving to the edge of their camp. He scanned the darkness, his posture tense but controlled. He returned to the fire and began preparing defenses. He explained with gestures and simple words, showing Elara how to help. Together, they placed sharpened sticks around the camp, forming a barrier. The threat of predators became real. Elara understood the need to protect themselves. Chayton took her aside and handed her a bow. He taught her to use it, guiding her hands, correcting her stance. She practiced drawing the string, feeling the tension, the power it held. Her aim was clumsy at first, her arrows missing their mark. But Chayton was patient, showing her again and again. Each shot improved, her confidence growing. She knew she needed to be ready to defend herself and her child if the need arose. The nights were tense, the howls closer, more frequent. The wolves were near, watching, waiting. But they never approached the camp. The defenses held, and Chayton's presence was a deterrent. His watchful eyes kept them safe. One morning, they set out to check their traps. The forest was quiet, the air cool and fresh. Elara walked beside Chayton, her bow slung over her shoulder. She felt more at ease, trusting in the skills she was learning. As they moved through the trees, Chayton stopped suddenly. He raised a hand, signaling for Elara to stay back. She froze, watching as he pointed ahead. A large bear stood in their path, its massive form moving with slow, deliberate steps. Elara's heart raced. The bear was too close, too real. She gripped her bow, ready but terrified. Chayton stepped forward, calm and focused. He made loud noises, clapping his hands, trying to drive the bear away. The bear paused, watching them with dark eyes. Chayton continued, waving his arms, making his presence known. The bear hesitated, then turned and lumbered off into the forest. Elara let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. Her legs felt weak, but relief washed over her. They were safe for now. The incident underscored the vulnerability of their situation. The forest was beautiful, but it was also wild and unpredictable. Elara realized how much she depended on Chayton's skills, his knowledge of the land. But despite the fear, she felt a growing strength within herself. Her determination to survive for her unborn child was stronger than ever. The days passed, each one bringing new challenges. They moved through the forest, gathering food, setting traps. Elara's skills improved, her confidence growing with each successful hunt. She felt more capable, more in tune with the environment around her. Chayton continued to teach her, sharing his knowledge with quiet patience. He showed her how to read the weather, how to find water, how to stay hidden if needed. Each lesson was a gift, a tool for survival. Their bond deepened, rooted in shared experience and trust. Elara found comfort in Chayton's presence, in his steady strength. She admired his resilience, his ability to remain calm in the face of danger. He was a rock, an anchor in the midst of uncertainty. Despite the challenges, there were moments of lightness. They shared quiet laughter, finding humor in small things. Chayton carved more wooden animals, handing them to Elara with a shy smile. She treasured each one, feeling the warmth behind the gesture. The unspoken question of their future remained, hovering at the edges of their thoughts. But for now, they focused on the present, on the journey ahead. The forest, with all its dangers, was no longer just a backdrop. It was their home, their teacher, their challenge. Elara knew there would be more tests to come, more threats to face. But she was ready. She had found a strength within herself, a resilience she didn't know she had. She was no longer afraid. She was determined, driven by the life growing inside her. The world outside was vast and unpredictable, but inside their camp, there was warmth, there was hope. Elara and Chayton were no longer just surviving. They were living, moving forward, step by step. The forest was their guide, their challenge, their companion. They walked its paths together, ready for whatever lay ahead. Elara and Chayton continued their journey through the forest. The warmth of spring touched the land, melting the last patches of snow. Streams flowed with fresh water, and new leaves unfurled on the trees. The world around them was waking up, full of life and promise. As they traveled, a bond formed between them. It was built on mutual respect and shared survival. They found moments of laughter and warmth despite the challenges they faced. The forest was no longer just a place of danger. It was a backdrop to the friendship that was growing between them. Elara began to see Chayton not only as her savior but as a friend. She admired his gentle nature, the way he moved through the forest with ease. He was patient in his teaching, showing her how to live in harmony with the land. She felt safe with him, his presence a constant comfort. Chayton, in turn, admired Elara's resilience and courage. He saw her strength, her determination to survive and protect her unborn child. Her laughter was a balm, a reminder of the joys that still existed in the world. He found himself looking forward to their conversations, their quiet moments by the fire. One day, as they rested by a stream, Chayton took out his carving tools. He selected a piece of wood, holding it in his hands for a moment. Then, with careful strokes, he began to shape it. Elara watched, curious, as the form slowly emerged. It was a small wooden bird, its wings outstretched as if in flight. Chayton held it out to her once it was finished, his eyes warm and open. Elara took it, touched by the gesture. She traced the lines of the wings, feeling the care that had gone into its creation. The bird was a symbol of their journey, of the freedom they sought. Elara felt a surge of emotion, a deep gratitude for the bond they shared. She smiled at Chayton, a silent thank you in her eyes. Their connection deepened with each passing day. They spoke of their dreams, their hopes for the future. Elara shared her fears of raising a child alone, of finding a place to belong. Chayton listened, offering quiet support and understanding. He spoke of rebuilding a life after loss, of creating something new from the ashes of the past. His words were a comfort, a promise that they were not alone in their struggles. Together, they could face whatever lay ahead. Despite the growing bond, the unspoken question of their future lingered between them. What would happen once they reached safety? Once they found a place to settle? The thought was never far from their minds, a shadow in the light of their friendship. They continued their journey, guided by the changing season. The forest was full of life, its beauty a reminder of the cycles of growth and renewal. Elara felt a sense of belonging she hadn't known since being abandoned. She was part of something larger, something enduring. Chayton was a constant presence, his quiet strength a source of comfort. He was more than a friend, he was a partner in the journey. Elara felt a warmth growing in her heart, a feeling she couldn't quite name. The days passed, each one bringing them closer to their goal. They encountered other travelers on the path, people moving through the forest with their own stories, their own burdens. Some stopped to speak, sharing news and advice. Others moved on without a word, their eyes focused on the road ahead. Elara and Chayton found solace in the shared journey, in the knowledge that they were not alone. The forest was vast, but it was also a place of connection, a reminder of the ties that bound them to the world. As they walked, Elara felt a growing sense of peace. The fears that had once gripped her were fading, replaced by hope and determination. She was no longer just surviving. She was living, creating a new life, a new future. Chayton was part of that future. His presence was a steady light, guiding her through the darkness. Together, they faced the challenges of the wilderness, their bond a shield against the uncertainties of the world. The forest was their home now, a place of safety and growth. Elara knew there would be more tests to come, more paths to walk. But she was ready. With Chayton by her side, she felt strong, capable, and full of hope. The journey was not over, but they were no longer alone. They walked together, step by step, into the unknown. Their hearts were open, their spirits strong. The future was theirs to create, and they were ready to embrace it. As spring continued to unfold, Elara and Chayton noticed the forest changing around them. The air grew warmer and the days stretched longer. The trees were full of new leaves, a vibrant green that promised life and growth. The snow had disappeared, leaving the ground soft and fresh. The journey became easier with the changing season. They found more food, berries ripening on bushes and wild herbs growing in abundance. Chayton showed Elara how to recognize the plants that would help them, pointing out their uses. She gathered them with care, adding them to their supplies. One afternoon, while exploring a new area, they stumbled upon a small, abandoned cabin. It stood at the edge of a clearing, its walls weathered but intact. The roof sagged in places, but it offered shelter. They approached carefully, checking for signs of recent use. Finding none, they decided to make it their temporary home. Inside, the cabin was simple but sturdy. Dust covered the floor, and cobwebs hung in the corners. Old furniture remained, a table and 2 chairs, a small bed frame. Elara and Chayton cleaned the space, sweeping away dirt and debris. They built a fire in the hearth, filling the cabin with warmth and light. The cabin provided a chance to restock supplies and regroup. They explored the surrounding area, finding a stream nearby for fresh water. The forest offered plenty, and they took what they needed, always mindful of leaving enough behind. As they settled in, Elara and Chayton discovered remnants of the previous occupants' lives. An old blanket, faded and worn, lay folded in a corner. A small box held trinkets, simple items with no real value but rich with history. Each piece told a story, a glimpse into the lives of those who had come before. The cabin sparked conversations about their own dreams and hopes. In the evenings, as the fire crackled, they talked about the future. Elara spoke of her fear of raising a child alone, of finding a place to belong. Chayton shared his vision of rebuilding a life after loss, of creating a home filled with warmth and laughter. Their conversations revealed a shared desire for community and healing. They spoke of finding a place where they could settle, where they could belong. The cabin, though temporary, offered a glimpse of what could be. It was a symbol of hope, a step toward a new beginning. As they prepared to leave, a sudden storm rolled in. Dark clouds gathered overhead and the wind picked up, howling through the trees. Rain fell in heavy sheets, pounding against the roof. They were forced to stay, the storm testing their resolve. The storm raged for days, trapping them inside the cabin. The wind howled and the rain hammered against the walls. Elara and Chayton made the best of it, tending to small tasks, keeping the fire burning. They found comfort in their shared space, in the warmth and light they had created. The storm forced them to confront their feelings for each other. The cabin, small and intimate, offered no escape from the emotions that had been growing between them. Elara felt a warmth in her heart, a feeling she could no longer ignore. She realized her feelings for Chayton had grown beyond friendship. Chayton, too, felt the weight of unspoken words. He admired Elara's strength, her courage in the face of adversity. Her laughter was a light in the darkness, a reminder of the joys that still existed. He knew he wanted more than just friendship. The storm passed, leaving the world fresh and renewed. The air was crisp, the sky a bright blue. Elara and Chayton stepped outside, feeling the sun on their faces. The forest was alive with the sound of birds, the rustle of leaves. In the calm after the storm, Chayton found the words he had been holding. He suggested they continue their journey together, that they find a place to settle as a family. Elara was overwhelmed by the offer, her heart full. She agreed, seeing in him a partner, a protector. They embraced, a promise of a shared future. They set out once more, their path now guided by a shared purpose. The forest was no longer just a challenge. It was a path to something new, something hopeful. They walked side by side, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Along the way, they encountered other travelers and a small settlement. The people welcomed them, offering food and shelter. It was a community rebuilding after similar losses, a place of healing and hope. Elara felt a sense of acceptance, a place where she could envision a future for her child. The settlement became a new beginning. Elara and Chayton found a home surrounded by people who understood their journey. The community valued Chayton's skills as a hunter and Elara's knowledge of herbs and healing. They were part of something larger, something enduring. As they looked out over the land they now called home, Elara reflected on the journey from abandonment to belonging. She held her child close, grateful for the life they had built and the family they had become. The wilderness, once a place of fear, was now a testament to their resilience and love. Together, they faced the future, ready for whatever it would bring. Elara and Chayton settled into the rhythm of the settlement. The community was small but vibrant, full of people who had faced their own trials. The land was fertile, ready to welcome new life. It was a place of healing and growth. Chayton quickly became a respected member of the community. His skills as a hunter were valuable, providing meat for the settlement. He taught others how to track and set traps, sharing his knowledge freely. His quiet strength and steady presence earned him the trust of those around him. Elara found her place as well. Her understanding of herbs and healing was welcomed. She helped tend to the sick using the knowledge she had gained from Chayton and the forest. Her gentle touch and calm demeanor brought comfort to those in need. The days were filled with the work of building a life. Elara and Chayton worked together, side by side. They planted gardens, built shelters, and cared for the animals. The settlement was a tapestry of activity, each person contributing to the whole. Elara watched Chayton with admiration. He was a natural leader, his actions speaking louder than words. He guided the community with patience and wisdom, always ready to lend a hand. She felt proud to stand beside him, to be part of this new beginning. As the weeks passed, Elara's belly grew rounder. The baby was strong, its movements a constant reminder of the life they were creating. She felt a deep sense of peace, knowing she was no longer alone. The fear that had once gripped her was gone, replaced by hope and anticipation. Chayton was by her side, his support unwavering. He was attentive to her needs, always ensuring she was comfortable and cared for. He carved small toys for the baby, each one crafted with love and care. His gentle nature was a balm, soothing her worries. The community embraced them, celebrating the upcoming birth. They offered gifts, small tokens of their support and joy. Elara felt surrounded by love, by a family she had not expected to find. It was a place of belonging, a home. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Chayton and Elara sat together outside their home. The air was warm, the sky painted with the colors of dusk. The world was quiet, a moment of calm before the night. Chayton spoke softly, his voice steady. He expressed his gratitude for the journey they had shared, for the life they were building together. Elara listened, her heart full. She understood the depth of his words, the promise they held. She reached for his hand, their fingers intertwining. They sat in silence, the weight of the past lifting, replaced by the promise of the future. The bond between them was strong, forged in the trials they had faced and the love that had grown between them. The night passed peacefully, the stars a blanket above. Elara slept deeply, comforted by Chayton's presence beside her. She dreamed of the days to come, of the family they would be. When dawn broke, the settlement stirred to life. The air was filled with the sounds of birds, the rustle of leaves. Elara felt a sense of anticipation, a knowing that the time was near. She moved through the day with a lightness in her step, her heart full of joy. As the sun rose higher, she felt the first twinges of labor. They were gentle at first, a reminder of what was to come. Chayton was by her side, his support unwavering. He held her hand, his calm presence a comfort. The community gathered, offering support and encouragement. Elara was not alone. She was surrounded by people who cared, who understood the importance of this moment. She felt their strength, their love, and it gave her courage. The labor was long, each contraction a wave of pain and effort. Elara breathed through each one, her focus on the life within her. Chayton never left her side, his hand in hers, his voice a steady reassurance. She drew strength from him, from the bond they shared. As the afternoon turned to evening, the baby was born. Its cries filled the air, a sound of life and promise. Elara held the child close, feeling its warmth, its tiny heartbeat. She was overwhelmed with love, with gratitude for this new life. Chayton looked at the child, his eyes soft with emotion. He leaned in, brushing a kiss against Elara's forehead. They were a family now, bound by love and the journey that had brought them here. The community celebrated, welcoming the new life with open arms. It was a moment of joy, a reminder of the strength and resilience they all shared. Elara felt a deep sense of peace, knowing she was part of something greater, something enduring. As night fell, Elara and Chayton sat together, cradling their child. The world was quiet, the stars bright above. They were home, surrounded by the people who had become their family. The future was theirs to shape, a promise of hope and love. Elara reflected on the journey, from the fear and loneliness of the forest to the warmth and belonging of the settlement. She was grateful for every step, for the strength she had found within herself, for the love she had discovered with Chayton. Together, they faced the future, ready for whatever it might bring. The wilderness, once a place of fear, was now a testament to their resilience and love. They were no longer just surviving. They were living, creating a life filled with hope and joy. Life in the settlement unfolded with a rhythm that felt right. The community thrived, each person playing a part in the shared effort to build a home. Fields were planted, animals tended, and homes repaired. It was a place of growth, a place of hope. Elara and Chayton embraced their new roles as parents. Their days were busy, filled with the demands and joys of caring for their child. The baby was strong, its laughter a bright sound that brought smiles to tired faces. Elara felt a deep sense of fulfillment, a joy she had never known. Chayton was a devoted father, his gentle nature evident in the way he cared for their child. He carried the baby on his back as he worked, showing it the world with quiet pride. His eyes softened whenever he looked at their child, a reflection of the love that filled their home. Elara found her place within the community, her skills as a healer valued and respected. She tended to the sick, her knowledge of herbs and remedies a gift. People came to her for help and advice, trusting in her gentle touch. She felt a sense of belonging, a connection to those around her. The settlement was a place of learning and sharing. People exchanged stories, skills, and dreams. Elara and Chayton were part of this tapestry, their lives woven into the fabric of the community. They shared their experiences, the journey that had brought them here. It was a story of survival, of finding home in unexpected places. Seasons changed, marking the passage of time. The forest, once a place of fear, was now a source of life and sustenance. It provided food, shelter, and a reminder of the resilience of nature. Elara and Chayton taught their child to respect the land, to live in harmony with it. Their home was simple but filled with warmth. The walls held laughter, the fire burned bright. Elara often found herself reflecting on their journey, grateful for the path they had taken. She was thankful for the strength she had found, for the love they had built. Chayton continued to lead the community with quiet strength. His skills as a hunter were invaluable, his knowledge of the land a guide. He taught others, sharing what he knew with patience. He was a trusted figure, a source of wisdom and stability. Together, Elara and Chayton faced the challenges of each day, supporting one another with love and understanding. They were partners in every sense, their bond unbreakable. They celebrated the small victories, the milestones of their child's growth, the successes of the community. The settlement was a place of renewal, a testament to the power of resilience and hope. It was a safe haven for those who had faced loss, a place where new beginnings were possible. Elara felt at peace, knowing she was part of something larger, something lasting. As their child grew, Elara and Chayton shared stories of their journey. They spoke of the forest, of the lessons learned and the strength discovered. They taught their child to value community, to cherish the bonds of family and friendship. The future was bright, filled with promise. Elara and Chayton looked forward to the days ahead, to the life they were building. They knew there would be challenges, but they were ready to face them together. One evening, as the sun set, painting the sky with soft hues, Elara and Chayton stood together outside their home. Their child played nearby, giggling at the antics of a small dog that had become part of their family. The air was warm, the world at peace. Chayton wrapped an arm around Elara's shoulders, pulling her close. She leaned into him, feeling the strength and warmth of his embrace. They watched the world around them, content in the moment, grateful for the journey that had brought them here. The settlement was quiet, the sounds of evening settling over the land. Elara felt a deep sense of gratitude, a peace that filled her heart. She knew that they had found more than just a place to live. They had found a home, a family, a future. Together, they faced the world, ready for whatever it might bring. The wilderness, once a place of fear, was now a testament to their resilience and love. They were no longer just surviving. They were living, creating a life filled with hope, joy, and the promise of tomorrow. If you loved this story, subscribe.